Psalm 2, starting from verse 7. The king proclaims the Lord's decree. The Lord said to me, "You are my son. Today I have become your father. Only ask, and I will give you the nations as your inheritance, the whole earth as your possession. You will break them with an iron rod and smash them like clay pots. Now then, you kings, act wisely. Be warned, you rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with reverent fear and rejoice with trembling. Submit to God's royal Son, or he will become angry, and you will be destroyed in the midst of all your activities, for his anger flares up in an instant. But what joy for all who take refuge in him." This is one of the Psalms that David wrote, and we looked at the first half of the Psalm last time. This is the last half, and the royal ruler here is the King of Israel. So there's been a prophecy concerning David. David has become king, and God has declared David as his son, his royal son. And so this psalm is addressed to the rebellious Gentile nations who were rebelling against God and who were fighting against the Israelites and who were entrenched in all sorts of immoral practices. So we know that this psalm speaks of the blessing on the anointed king that God has chosen, but also on the success of judgment being executed against those nations. The threat here of them being broken with an iron rod and smashed like clay pots clearly speaks of those nations, those rebellious nations, being brought into submission firmly by the ruler who is chosen by God. But there's also another, as there often is, another meaning, a vision behind the plain meaning of the text, because when verse 12 says, "Submit to God's royal Son," it's clear that there's another son that can be included in this passage, the Son of God, who is from the line of David, who continues that prophetic royal kingship, and whose kingship now endures forever, since he has become the king of our hearts and he is now enthroned in heaven. And the psalm ends with a real encouragement and blessing, which I hope is helpful to us in these continuing strange times. The last part of the psalm says, "What joy for all who take refuge in him." And so yes, for the subjects of David as he was ruling, there was joy for them to be ruled by a righteous king who acted with fairness and justice. But how much more so is there joy for us as we take refuge in Jesus, as we look to him for direction in our lives, for support, and ultimately for the hope that we have of resurrection and to join into the new kingdom in the next life. So once more we find deep encouragement in Psalm 2 as we meditate on it, and I hope that that's a blessing to you. God bless.